Hello, so today we're going to use the DC Designs Harrier. We're in the GR9, the REF variant, but it does come with 3 different types as standard. So you've got the American ones, the later versions, but obviously we've got to fly the British one. And we're going to launch from the Queen Elizabeth, which is a moving carrier off the coast at the moment, off the coast of North Wales, just near to Vally. So starting externally, it's your typical DC designs. It's okay, but it's not amazing. You can see it's a little bit flat in places on the pylons there. It's not very detailed. It's nice that you get the weapons with it. All you got to do is increase the payload and the weapons are there. There's a few bits they've done nice. The thrusters, engine thrusters there. You got the damage to the paintwork from them from the jet blast. The cockpit itself is quite good. Overall, it's your typical DC designs, but out of the DC designs, I'd say it's probably potentially my favourite, just because of how fun it is to fly. But we'll get to that in a bit. It's obviously got the amazing capability of the hover, vertical landing and takeoff, which we'll have a go at, which is so difficult. Which is why they had so many crashes. It's obviously been replaced by the F-35's vertical takeoff ability, which is much more stable, much safer for the pilots. You can see how flimsy that landing gear looks. Didn't like to do conventional landings. It was, as the name suggested, the Harrier jump jet. It was mostly designed for vertical or at least short landing and takeoff. We'll do a short takeoff from the carrier using that ramp, but we will have a go at a vertical takeoff as well once we get over land. So it's got the covers as well, and if you're on land you will get chocks, but obviously because we're on the add-on carrier, the chocks aren't appearing. But you get the engine covers there, pilots, the standard Asobo pilot. All in all, it's not a bad effort on the outside. It's certainly not like a high fidelity one like the Tornado or something from Heat Blur. But it's not bad, and it makes up for it with how much fun it is. So let's pop inside and we'll have a look at the cockpit before we get going. So here's your cockpit, and much the same as the outside. It's your typical DC designs. It's not bad. It's very functional. There's not much in here that doesn't work. There are little areas of texture that aren't quite amazing, like the canopy rim there. Obviously canopy's open at the moment, but it is what it is. I think the DC designs are more focused on users having fun with them and enjoying them rather than realism. They do a DC designs version for DCS, which I'm told is a bit more true, but less fun to fly apparently. And I can certainly vouch for this one being a lot of fun to fly. So just quickly, basic layout of the cockpit before we do our pre-flight. Down the left hand side here you've got everything to do with the engine and the fuel systems, your nozzles there, which I'll go through in a minute, because obviously there's so much. It's a little bit like a helicopter. There's so many different controls that you've got to be using in conjunction. It's ridiculous. Stability systems at the front there. You've got one MFD on either side of the control panel, which you can configure however you want. Weapon systems are all to the left. Navigation systems, and a lot of them are in front of the yoke there. You've got some traditional steam gauges underneath. Another MFD on the right that you can adjust as you see fit. Engine readout and fuel readout at the top there. Below it you've got the fuel systems, so you can adjust bingo fuel, etc. Like extra tanks and things like that, you can adjust what you're looking at with that. Warning panel on the right, and then radio systems, and then some lighting systems on the right hand side. The chocks and covers switch obviously are not real switches, they've just been added so you can put those covers on. And then these ones at the back, to be honest with you, I have never used them at all. So I can't say that they're relevant to the flight at all and all the things I've been doing with it. So that's the basic tour around the cockpit. You got a nice big HUD there. Only thing I'd say about the HUD is it does wash out quite a bit in when it's really sunny. So if we were to take off and head into that, you're not going to see any of it. You'll see when we taxi and we draw across that, you'll completely lose the HUD in it. I do like using the moving carrier because you get that sense of movement with the water going. Makes it so much harder. But the realism of seeing that water moving is lovely. Anyway, that's the tour of the cockpit. Let's crack on with our pre-flight checks. So what I'll try and do is go through what everything is as I'm clicking it. I might forget some bits. If I do apologise, but there is a lot with it. So first things first, let's get the canopy closed. And then the first thing we're going to turn on, in fact let me just show you with the canopy closed, you get those three mirrors there and you can see the explosive wire that will, I believe that's explosive wire that when you pull the ejection handle will destroy the canopy so that you can go through it safely. Don't want a goose from Top Gun obviously. So first thing we're going to do is turn on the lift improvement device, which is this one here. What the lift improvement device does is basically stops the Harrier choking on its own exhaust. There are so many bits that you have to do as the pilot. It's really easy to get things out of kilter, so it has a lot of automated systems which will try and save you where it can. Next thing we're going to do is turn on our oxygen, and then we're going to turn on all the stability systems, which are these three switches here. Sorry about that bump, it does it every so often. It's because we're on the moving carrier add-on. Every few minutes it'll give us a little bump. And then we'll turn on, so the stability systems, same as every other fighter jet, they just aid the pilot's control. This one is called the Q-fuel switch. What that does, the controls will become extremely light, especially at high speed, and there's that bump again. The Q-fuel just adds basic weight to the stick, makes it more control, makes the pilot have more control. And next to the rudder shaker switch, which is just next to it. Sorry, it's just above it rather, just that one there. And what that one does is a warning system, sends a shake through the pedals when there's insufficient lift, potential of stall. Basically, it warns the pilot of unstable airflow. So quite an important switch. We'll turn on our landing taxi lights, just so people know that we're in the aircraft. And then our anti-skid switch is just above it. Oh, it's getting quite annoying, that bump. I only find it on the moving carriers. So we'll crack on as quick as we can so we get away from it. And then lights as required. Your light switches are this one, and this one. And we'll turn them all on. We don't need any lights within the cockpit today, but if you did, they're on the right hand side down there. But we're not going to need those. So we're ready for startup. Okay, so I'm going to do the startup just with the head tracking off. It's one of those awkward cockpits that with the head tracking on, certain things can be out of range of you. And you've got to lean right in, and it's just one of those that's a little bit awkward. It's lovely to fly with the head tracking on, but just a bit awkward doing the start, so we'll turn it off for the start. So first thing we're going to do is check the parking brakes applied, which is this one over here. All the way forward is on, all the way back is off, so parking brakes set. Next, come over to the right and switch on your battery main switch, which is this one here, far right. As soon as that comes on, you'll see everything comes to life. There's that lovely HUD we spoke about. Now you should be seeing at least 24.5 volts on the battery voltmeter. Doesn't appear to be modelled because that doesn't go at all. Not had any problems with it within the aircraft, so I think they've just not modelled that. Next, turn on the generator. And once that's done, come over to the left. And turn on the engine RPM switch, set to low, which is it's the automatic position, set to low, so you don't have to do anything with that. Next, turn your EFC to 1. Now, what the EFC is the engine fuel control, and that controls how fuel is delivered to the engine. Again, because it's such a fiddly aircraft, it's so easy for the pilot to make a slight mistake and just total that Pegasus engine. So that just assists and make sure that doesn't happen. Next, you're going to turn on your fuel pumps, left, right, and your fuel proportioner. These 3 switches here. Once that's done, you're going to turn on your jet pipe temperature limiter. This switch here. Now, what the jet pipe temperature limiter does, as the name would suggest, it limits fuel when the temperature gets too high. Again, it's just a fail-safe so the pilot can't wreck this very, very expensive aircraft. Manual fuel switch to off. Next, the throttle we need to be set to aft. So this is this switch here. If I pop outside for a sec, and I'll show you how it moves. Pop down and up these 4 nozzles. But you don't want to have it set all the way up for takeoff. You want it about 10 degrees. And the reason for that is, if you have it set all the way aft, it can damage the fuselage and the flaps. So on your HUD, you've got a nozzle readout here, the 0N, and if I start twisting, you'll see it starts coming up. So you want that set about 10 degrees. It should only be at 0 when you're in flight. I'll show you what that looks like from the outside. I'll put my pilot back on. It's very, very minor, but it's just enough so that that's not firing exhaust into the underside of the wing and potentially damaging the plane itself. So once that's done, we just come back to this normal position. We need to close the fuel shutoff lever. Bit of an awkward one to get to because it's actually behind you. There's this lever here. Push it down so that fuel flows. And then while we're here, we can turn on the DEX system. What DEX is the digital engine control, and it just protects against the essentially protects against the pilot. It's the brain of the aircraft. Protects the engine from the pilot. It protects from over input. So once that's done, I'll come back to our starting position, over to the right, and turn on our APU generator. No sound associated with that, which is a bit disappointing because it should in real life make a bit of a noise. And then we can hit the engine start, which is this one. And straight away you'll see on the right hand side the RPM's coming up. If we come across here, you'll see all the engine data spooling up. We're going to sit pretty until it rises. The RPM should rise to about 60%. So that's all coming up nicely. APU's just clicked off. Sorry, the engine starter's just clicked off. APU should click off by itself as well. And there we go, we've just hit 60%. And it's holding there, perfect. So the APU should click off by itself. I don't think it does. I think that's modelled slightly incorrectly. So we can just flick that off because we're now running under the power of the engine. Quick check of the jet pipe temperature. 309 is fine. It shouldn't be exceeding about 540. If it is, then there's something wrong. We need to shut down straight away. And our hydraulic system, these are all times by 10. Again, they shouldn't be exceeding 3,000, which none of them are. 30,000, sorry, not 3,000. Oh no, it'd be 30. Cancel my 30. Yeah, it'd be 30,000. Terrible maths. That's why I'm not a pilot. But yeah, they're all fine. Front one's the only one that's vaguely close. The others are absolutely fine. Next, we would at this point be doing our ejection seat safety, the ground safety, which should be around here somewhere, but it's not modelled. We'll count that as checked. Next, we need to select our flaps. We're going to be doing a short takeoff, so we'll put them down into the VTOL position, and the water system will put up to takeoff. So you've got takeoff, off, and landing in this model. I think there's a bit more to it in the real thing and on the DCS version, but on the Microsoft Flight Simulator one, they've made it quite simple. If you're doing vertical takeoff or landing or short takeoff landing, you turn it on to takeoff, and if you're flying normally, you turn it off. Simple as that. And then we turn the VTOL master. We go from nav to VTOL master. The other one of it is air to ground, which obviously we're not going to need today. So we'll set up for our MFDs as required. So we'll go menu, and we'll pop the flare on that one, and we'll keep the map page on that one. So that is our start. All ready now to do our after start checks before takeoff. Okay, so after start checks, we select the altitude into either baro or radar, whichever one you want to use. We'll leave ours on baro, but essentially up the top here, I think it disappears just after you've pressed it. So if I try and get both in, I'm not going to be able to now, am I? So if I slip the switch to radar, you see an R appears. Flip it back up to baro. You get nothing for the baro. So if you've got an R there, you know you're on radar. If you've got nothing, you know you're on baro. So that is us now ready to taxi out. MFDs as we want them. Systems ready for takeoff. Canopies closed. Got sufficient fuel for the flight. Right, let's get taxied out and see how we get on with a short takeoff. Essentially, we'll move out there. And we're going to fly down here and up off the ramp. Thus is the plan. We'll see how it goes. On a moving carrier, it's easier said than done. So we've got the head tracking back on. Confirm nozzles are at 10%. Parking brakes taken off. Hard left rudder. Very, very slight throttle. Try and give ourselves as much of that runway as possible. It should be more than enough, to be fair, even going from here. But we'll just be safe. Give ourselves as much as we can get. We've timed it nicely so that we're taking off out of the sun, because as you can see, that even there, a slight angle, that HUD is very difficult to read. Make sure we don't crash into these lovely rescue helicopters. One thing I did forget to mention, you've got two settings for the nose wheel steering, normal and high, and that's controlled with a little button on the left hand side of the yoke, or you can I've got mine hotkeyed to the letter N on the keyboard. Try and get it lined up with that lovely black line. Okay. So, quick pop parking brake on for a second, and then last check, nozzles. So, nozzles should be set according to the manual at about 45 degrees. I've done loads of practice with that, and if you do that, you'll crash. You'll basically pretty much almost do a vertical takeoff, which is not what we want for a short takeoff. I've found the sweet spot is around 20 degrees. So if we just adjust that now, there you go, that's set at 20 degrees. You can do it with the stick here, but it's really difficult because you've obviously got to look down, use the mouse. It's much easier if you hotkey it to something. So a rotary knob on your HOTUS, which is what I've done. On the outside, that's what 20 degrees looks like. So it's just enough to give you that little extra bit of lift. Right. Clear for takeoff. Let's get it in the air. So full throttle, keep it nice and lined up, little touches of the rudder. It's already trying to pull up, you can feel it pulling the nose. Yeah, it's lifting off there, little bounce. See, that's, even with the nozzles at that low angle, it's still desperately trying to take off. It's just how powerful it is on the vertical takeoff. But there we go. So once you're airborne, you get your nozzles back up to 0 as soon as you can. And then as soon as that's done, we'll switch to nav mode from VTOL. We turn the water system off, and we'll put the flaps to auto. They can either go into auto or cruise. Makes little to no difference. And then we'll just swing out the sun. Try and pick up that carrier. Just make sure we don't go too low. There's the edge of the carrier group. There we go. There's the carrier. So just quick check of all our systems. We're in normal cruise mode. We've got nozzles up to 0. Flaps are set. Water system's off. No warnings popping up. We are good to go. Let's give the carrier a little fly past before we head out to Valley. So our what we'll say our mission or our sortie today. We're an RAF Harrier that's been on exercise with the Navy. It's time to return back to land. So we're debussing from them off the Welsh coast. Take this in nice and low for them. Say goodbye to the captain.
Altitude.
Altitude. There we go. Lovely. And then we're going to head out to Valley. But since we're at RAF Valley, why not? We're going to do the Mach loop. And in between that, we'll test out everything we can, really. The navigation systems, the autopilot systems. We'll try it with a bit of aerobatics and put it to the test. And then what we'll try and do is the bow, the famous airshow bow, if we can pull that off. So one of the great things about the Harrier is it's auto trim, so that is completely hands off the stick. That is flying itself. It's very, very good at it. It's very, very handy. Makes it easier when you want to do things like this. So, no idea where Valley is, as you can see. As you can see, we are in the middle of nowhere, out at sea. So to find Valley, we're just going to press Tacan 2-1, enter. X-ray is already selected. You can change that to the Yankee if you need a Yankee. And then over here on the MFD, the Tacan's appeared for the beacon for Valley, so we know Valley is over there. You've got a course bar there if you want to come in on a certain angle, and that's controlled by this little knob under here. So we can either manually fly that there, or if we wanted to go a bit easier on ourselves and use the autopilot, there is a heading bug just here, and that is controlled again by a difficult to see switch, this one here. So if we just adjust that, bring the head and bug round, line the head and bug up with the Tacan. There we go, so you see the head and bug's lined up. Use this switch to make the yoke disappear for a sec. So to use the head and bug, you switch this all the way around to the 6 o'clock position. And then from there we just turn on our, we can turn off our landing lights now. There we go. We just turn on our autopilot system and altitude hold, these 2 switches here. You can see it's already started turning to the left. Pick up that head and bug. And that'll line us up. And then if you want to have the Tacan information on the screen here, which is quite handy to have, you just press Tacan on there. And there you can see we've got Vally and the distance 5.4 miles. And there you go, as we there you go, as we clear through the cloud base, there's Vally straight in front of us. So what we will do now, because we don't want that anymore, we'll accomplish what we wanted with it. We'll turn Tacan mode off. Just punch in a random to clear it. 0.5. Enter. And that will clear it off. So that's cleared the map for us. And then we can turn off our autopilot system. So I now have control of the aircraft again. It's very easy to control. The power to weight ratio is way off on it, I think. I very much doubt the real Harrier was as easy to throw around as this is. I could be wrong, might have been. But I strongly feel like this is DC Designs aimed at more fun for the sim goers as opposed to the DCS version that they've got, which is a bit more study level, but it is a lot of fun. So just line her up with a runway. It has taken quite a while to get to grips with it, even with this fun version. So in line with the runway, we'll build our speed up a little bit. As you can see, roll rate's very, very good. Super controllable on a roll. Push the throttle to the max. It's not the fastest aircraft in the world. It's never what it was designed for. But it's being able to take off and land from anywhere is pretty useful, to say the least. It has got a refueling probe there to get that out. I don't remember which switch it is. This one, I want to say. Yep, there you go, forward. And then back, we'll close it up. Just got to be careful with that, because that will give you, because this came out prior to the air-to-air refueling mod. So as soon as you open that, you get 25% extra fuel, which obviously was great back when you didn't have that refueling mod. But with the Harrier, you've got to be so careful, because above £21,000 you cannot vertical take off. So you've got to be careful you don't accidentally load up too much fuel. Alright, let's head back towards the runway. That speed's cracking off really quick there. And I mean, that's stayed so straight with no effort whatsoever. We'll roll it round. Yeah, that's so crazy straight. And we'll give them a nice flyby of the tower. Yeah, the stability systems on the Harrier are just phenomenal, and the view, because you've got such a big dome glass cockpit. Yeah, if you want to just take a jet for bit of a doss about. It's so much fun. We're coming quite quick here, so we're at 500 knots. Should rattle their teeth a bit. Make sure we're not too low. 1,000 feet. 900, a bit too low. There we go. Feels really slow up here. If I show you it from the ground, I guarantee you it's not. There we go. Passing over the top of the tower at 500 knots, just over. Try see what our turn rate's like. You feel that pushing me, you see that's pushed me back into the seat. It's really good, and it's not burning off that much speed either. You see that's the speed's coming down, but not as quickly as you'd expect. Straighten out now before the pilot blacks out. Right, so next we want to try that flight plan. So if I take us way off course, there we go, slow us down, come back on the throttle. So this is our very simple flight plan that we're going to load into the computer. Just so that we can pull up some waypoints. So we'll activate it when we're around RAF Valley. Obviously we're going to be taking off from the carrier, but we'll fly Tacan to RAF Valley. Then we'll activate the waypoints around here. So waypoint number 1 will be this town here. I'm not going to pronounce. I'm not going to try and pronounce that, but there's a castle there. We're going to have that as waypoint 1. And then it should automatically take us onto waypoint 2, which is a custom waypoint, which is just the tip of the coast here, and then finally onto waypoint 3, which will be Barmouth Bridge, which will take us into the Mach loop. So really simple flight plan, just so that we can pull up some waypoints, and here they are listed at the top. Obviously the carrier, the landmark, and then the custom waypoint. Okay, nice and easy. We're going to use the GPS plan that we put in, so we're going to turn this to the 1 o'clock position. We're going to select waypoint mode on, go to waypoint number 1, and then hit auto. So that will take us. Oh, it's gone back to 0 because I hit auto. I'll explain that in a second. And then turn on our autopilot function and altitude hold. It says show where that started turning to the left, which is where waypoint number 1 is. Waypoint 1 will be over there. I've made it a bit difficult for it because this is the limit of the bank angle, about 30 degrees, but it should get us there, I think. Yeah, just about. So the reason it flipped back to 0 was because I went to auto. So the same thing will happen if I take auto off. It will suddenly flip back to 0 because it wants to start the flight plan from the beginning. The difference between auto and manual is auto, it will automatically hit waypoint 1, it will curve, so it won't quite get to waypoint 1, it will start the turn because it's quite a gentle bank angle like this, very relaxing, and it will curve to waypoint 2. Whereas if you think, no, actually I want to go all the way to the waypoint, I want to do it myself, you can select the up and down functions, choose which waypoint you want to go to. If we just turn on that's not going to go on. It's got it anyway. You see to next waypoint number 2, 19 miles, and it's now not quite getting there, it's taking this curve. See if we can identify the waypoint from here. It's a castle apparently. See if we pop outside if we can see it. Oh, that looks nice, doesn't it? Right, we're looking for a castle. Come see a castle. Oh, that'll be it there, I think. On the peninsula. That square looking thing. I reckon that's probably our castle. So that is how your autopilot and your waypoint system works, basically. There's one last auto system you can use, and that's for VORs. It doesn't have ILS, as in, or approach mode, so you can't allow the plane to land itself. But you can still pull up the ILS, and you'll get the ILS on the MFD screen here. So you can land in poor weather and stuff like that. And to do that, you use the button there, all weather landing AWL. But we'll do that in a bit when we get across there. For now, we'll just sit back and enjoy the autopilot taking us to the Mach loop. I'll give it a bit more throttle because we're only doing 230 knots. And then we'll have a crack around the Mach loop, and then head back to Vally and see how we get on with the vertical landing and takeoff and the bow. And oh my god, there's so much that can go wrong. Okay, so that's Barmouth Bridge approaching, so we can turn off the autopilot. Let's clear the screen as well. Turn the waypoint modes off. Over Barmouth, around the Mach loop, and we'll take ourselves back to Vally and have a go at those vertical manoeuvres. What could possibly go wrong? So it's the usual route in, follow the river, pick up the valley straight ahead of us. There it is, just the right hand side of the HUD where the altitude readout is. That's the exit, so we know we're on course. Quick look over to the right, see our entry point. Gonna come left, just to bend us up, curve ourselves in nicely, get a good angle in, following the road. If you start the loop right, it tends to go well. Start it badly, you struggle to recover. So quick check left and exit, make sure no one's coming out. Lined up for entry, got the road in sight. Speed's good, altitude's good, flaps set, ready to go. Okay then, so to get back to base, let's just assume we've forgotten where we are. We'll use the Tacan. So we plumb in 21, it's already on X-ray, you can see there. Enter, Tacan mode, it appears on there, and so we can have it on the HUD as well. We'll just press Tacan, little box will come around it, and that's telling us Valley is that way. So we'll fly there manually. Brake right. Currently just below 5,000 feet, which is fine. And we'll just maintain this cruise until we get close to Valley. So you can see on the HUD we've got 33 miles to go. Excuse my cough. And then once we get there, we will, let's see, what order should we do this? We will do a, I'll show you the VOR first, then we'll do a vertical landing, or we'll try to do a vertical landing, then we'll do a vertical takeoff, we'll do the bow, and then we'll land it again and shut it down. And that'll be everything. So the bow was what the Harrier was famous for at air shows, when the pilot used to bow to the crowd. But it did go wrong several times. That was where the problems tended to be with when it was in the hover. It was extremely dangerous in the hover. If you imagine, you're basically there's a bit of fun on the way back. You're basically trying to balance a fighter jet on top of 4 streams of hot air, which is, it's extremely difficult. That's a narrow column you're trying to balance quite a heavy jet on. So you can understand why it was quite difficult. So this footage is from a Belgian air show where tragically the pilot lost his life. You can see as he performs the bow manoeuvre he ejects, but the ejection seat just travels parallel to the ground. Unfortunately he died. Even just cruising around like this, it's so much fun. It's a very enjoyable jet to fly. I won't go too low because we've got the wind turbines down there. Last thing we want to do is clip one of those. Okay, and we've got further 18 miles to go. Whilst this is not one of the most meticulously modelled planes on Flight Sim, it's definitely, when it comes to jets, it's definitely one of the most entertaining. Will bite you if you get it wrong, but give you hours of fun in between. And there's Vally there, look, just make it out. Now at 14,000 feet, speed's coming back up. You see that, I'll use the pointer to show you. The EOR pointer is pointing directly towards Vally. So the VOR will be just off to the side of one of the runways. And unless they've fixed it, last time I used it, the ILS is slightly off on the sim as well. So if it did have a approach mode, and you use the ILS, it would bring you in just slightly off. I can't remember if it was to the left or to the right now. It's been a while since I've used it, so they might have rectified that by now. But Vally, to be fair, Vally is an add-on, so that could be why. It's from FlightSim.2. Well worth it if you use the Mach loop. We'll just get ready to plumb in because I want to show you how you use the VOR or the ILS. Oops. See, this is because I'm hands off the stick at the moment, reading my little notebook. There we go, lever out. Right, so the ILS for Vally is 108.55. So I'll punch that in, 108.55. See it on here. Do need to change this round to I think it's the 1 o'clock position. We'll soon find out. Enter. Sorry, it's because there we go. All weather landing. 108.55. It's showing AWL all weather landing. Hit enter. 108.55. And then boom, it's thought about it for a second and it's popped up on the screen. So there you can see it's the ILS line, so it's not very contrast very well with the land below it, but the arrow's pointing that way, so it means we're past the runway now, which we are. And the course bar's showing us that we're not lined up with the runway. We can obviously line that up for our current position, but we don't need to worry about it. But if you did need to use the course bar, it's this knob just here. So that is the ILS approach into Vally. But we're not going to be using it. I just wanted to show you how you entered it. So you can use that to follow VORs. So with this aircraft you can do VORs, Tacans, ILSs. I think that's about it. And obviously manual. I say manual. You can use the heading mode as you wish. So we're done with that. We'll leave it on the screen, but we're not going to be needing it. So now we're sufficiently past the runway. Let's go and have a go at a vertical landing. 5,500 feet. We'll use the turn to burn off a lot of the speed. That's one thing. It does jump about a bit between speeds. I think you get quite a jerk. And I wonder if that's when it thinks you want to start to transition to vertical. Obviously we don't yet. So we're lined up. We're actually pretty much lined up on the ILS, as you can see by the right MFD. Keep it above 3,000 for now. Got a bit low there. So according to that, the runway should be straight ahead of us. And I can just see the beacon light now, flashing ahead. Okay, we're lined up for the runway. We're in VTOL mode. We've got our flap set to VTOL. Speed's coming down nicely. Altitude's good. Just start to bring in a bit of nozzle, not too much. It's all about tempering nozzle with speed and dust and other things. But we'll just gently bring that in, and that'll help to bring the speed down. Stay lined up with the runway. And we've got a gear down, so if we need to transition to a straightforward conventional landing, we can. That would be difficult at this speed because we haven't got much lift. We're reliant on those nozzles. Once we've got our speed down enough, we'll take a right turn onto the hard standing to the right. We'll put it down. I think there's some other jets there, but it's fairly, from what I can see, it's fairly open. Okay, so we are over the runway. Speed's coming down nicely, increasing the nozzles, working towards 90%, 90 degrees rather. And that's us pretty much in vertical flight there. Oh, you feel that big drop straight away. Push back on the throttle. There we go, and you can feel it bouncing around because we're on that cushion of air. And there's the hard standing we're going to go for. Just get it under control first before we start to turn. Then we'll do a pedal turn, use the rudder. It's a little bit wallowy on the rudder. But we're basically balancing on columns of air. Ease ourselves over. We've got a nice soft landing space below us if anything goes wrong. Make sure we don't land on that lovely F-15. And then what we do, we introduce a little bit of nozzle, so we tilt the nozzles and that allows us to move forwards. Doesn't have to be much, like 5 degrees or so, we'll get some forward movement. Nice and easy. It's all about tiny little movements. Small and smooth. Looking good. And we'll just get more nozzle, get us over the hard standing. Low enough now that we can afford to hit the tarmac if we need to. Checking our spacings constantly. Ground below us looks clear. Might just need to push a little bit further forward, make sure we're off the grass. Nice and easy. I know it looks really slow, but if you try and do it quickly, it all goes horribly wrong. Trust me, I've done it about 1,000 times practicing for this. So much easier in the F-35. Nice and gently, and contact. A little bit of a bounce. I think I potentially put my front wheel down before the back. Okay, let's get it back up in the air and we'll go for a bow. So that was your vertical landing. Here's the bow. You can actually see, if you look carefully, you can see those columns of air in the external view. And that is a real thing. When you look at real footage, you can see the airflow coming from those turbines. So, gears up. Nice stable hover. We'll get a little bit higher first. Start to turn. And then once we've got a stable, we'll tip the nose. Okay, looking good there. And down we go. Out of the crowd. Level it back up. This is where it goes wrong. No, stay nice and stable. We'll turn to the other side of the crowd. You're adjusting so many controls at the same time to make this smooth. It's unbelievable. Another bow. That's where it can go wrong. If you push that bow too far, it becomes unrecoverable. And there we go. I'm not going to land it again because I'm going to go have some fun with it and fly it around for a bit. But that is, I think, just about everything. All in all, a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much, and see you on the next one, hopefully.